Let me take you down memory lane. What do you remember about 1972? The Munich Olympics, the Vietnam War was still going on, the Lions were 8-5-1, Vietnam War demonstrations, Nixon was president, remember that guy? I remember 1972 because it was the year that I took my first drink. I was 12 years old. It was in my parents' basement, and a couple things I remember about the basement. First of all, the gaudy orange furniture, pool table we played on, and my parents' bar, stocked with liquor. It seemed perfectly natural for my brother to take a bottle of brandy that day and give it to me. My parents drank often, so it was just part of our culture. He handed it to me that day. I took the drink. As I took a drink of brandy, of course, I gagged immediately. But as the brandy hit my stomach, a couple of things happened. For the first time since I can remember, I felt a sense of relaxation, and I felt a sense of confidence. Confidence was not something that came easy to me when I was 12. I was kind of a nerdy kid. And remember the movie, basically, The Christmas Story? Remember the story when the bullies kept chasing those kids around? Well, that was me. I got chased home from school more times than I can remember. Call me Pinocchio and some other names. So I really had a lot of anxiety issues from that. But after that first drink, alcohol became a constant in my life. By the time I was 14, I was drinking several times a week. By the time I was 15, I was hitting the bars. There was a bar in my neighborhood by the name of the 10th Inning. It was a typical seedy bar in Madison, Wisconsin. And I got the idea that I was going to go in, sit down, and have a drink. So I stole my dad's big leather coat. Remember the 1970s, those big leather coats that men wore? So I got that coat on. I had my big poofy haircut, a mullet. And I walked into this bar, got my voice deeper, and said, "How you doing, man? Can I have a drink? A kind of a Budweiser? Those Packers suck, huh?" The guy served me like I belonged. And that night I sat there most of the night and drank with all the other dudes in there. And it was interesting that I felt perfectly at home there. And one Saturday night, not long after that, I got the bright idea that I was going to go in to the 10th Inning and buy a case of beer. So I walked in. "How you doing, man?" "Yeah, my deeper voice. "Can I have a case of beer?" "Yeah, those Packers suck, don't they?" Got the case of beer, my leather coat, my mullet, and I walked out to the street. And at that second, my parents drove by. I could see my mother's eyes looking at me, obviously disapproving. And I knew that I was doomed when the brake lights, the U-turn, and they were back. My mother didn't have to say a word. She pointed to the car. Took me home that night, but they took the beer. After that, it took a little bit of a darker turn for me. I left high school after my freshman year, and I began to drink frequently, mixing that with marijuana. And from that time forward, I kind of drifted through life just a bit. Worked some menial jobs and By the time I was 17, my parents agreed to sign me into the U.S. Navy. So going forward, alcohol is obviously a good friend of mine. But it took me down some pretty dark roads. I had plenty of success in my life over the next 30 years. But it was always there. And the pattern of drinking alone and risk-taking continued to escalate. So what I want to talk today about is 3 steps that will change your life forever. The first step being, who do you want to be? So that's the first part, Paul.